So from the start of the game, the pattern of play was pretty much set. United were dominating possession in the middle third and constantly pushing into Reading's half. In possession, because Reading were extremely passive, United had barely any trouble in progressing the ball out of their defensive third, and so we would see them begin to transition from that 2-3-2-3 shape we see in their build-up in the deeper part of the possession phase into a 3-1-6 shape that we've seen Ten Hag use prominently over the last month or so. Because Reading were using a 5-3-2 shape with two centre forwards, this meant it was only natural that United would drop into a 3-player base, as it would give them greater width to circulate the ball around Reading's front two of Lucas João and Andy Carroll. As I have said in previous match analysis videos, which will be linked in the description below, United's possession system is very fluid positionally, and so whilst the 3-1-6 structure remains consistent, the personnel in those positions changes constantly throughout the game and throughout each phase of play. But in this game, what was interesting is that we saw Wan-Bissaka on the right retaining a fairly high position for the majority of the game, and we also saw both Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen often looking to exploit the space wide of Reading's narrow midfield and forward line pentagon shape by pulling out to the left side in order to receive the ball in space, whilst Antony on the far side would hold his width on the flank. And from this kind of situation, I was very impressed with both Antony and Wan-Bissaka's link play on the right flank, with Antony receiving the ball in a wider position, naturally coming inside on his left foot, and Wan-Bissaka making that underlapping run between wing-back and centre-back that we saw both Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne do so consistently and so effectively throughout Pep's first reign of dominance at City from 2017 to 2019. And I did think that Antony was very good in this game. I have been highly critical of him recently, but in this game I think we saw the type of playing style that will make him a top-level player if he can convert this type of performance to Premier League matches, and we saw Antony's impact with the opening goal inside of 10 minutes of the second half. So here we can see that in the build-up, United are in a 3-1-6 shape, which at this phase of play does look more like a 3-7, as Casemiro pushes up from that deep single pivot position, and Christian Eriksen is a player who's dropped over to the left side of the back three to get on the ball in that quarterback position, as Rashford and Antony hold their width on each flank, and the two fullbacks, Wan-Bissaka and Malacia, are positioned like attacking midfielders in the half space. As Antony receives the ball from Eriksen's switch of play on the right flank, he cuts infield, and from here, Wan-Bissaka makes a run wide, dragging Tom McIntyre away from the centre-back on his inside, Tom Holmes, opening up a space for Casemiro to make a run from deep into, and credit to Antony, not only does he see the run, but he times his pass and weights it perfectly, allowing Casemiro to burst through, and his finish is fantastic to subtly dink the keeper and give United the lead. And to be honest, this was a weird kind of game, as within the first 20 minutes of the second half, United had essentially wrapped up the victory. Casemiro added a second with a long-range shot, which did take a deflection but still nestled beautifully in the far corner. And Fred added a third with a typically Brazilian flick at the near post, sending the ball past Lumley in goal and all but securing United's path through to the next round. But this game wasn't interesting from a tactical battle point of view, with Reading sitting off the whole game in a 5-3-2 and not really offering anything going forward or really providing any resistance to what United were doing. But the most interesting part of United's game to me was United's right side, with Wan-Bissaka and Antony looking a lot more comfortable and confident in their interplay and their movement. Now it has to be said that the level of the opposition does have a lot to do with this, as I thought both players were being allowed a lot more time and space on the ball than they otherwise would be in a usual Premier League game, but the positives can still be taken forward. In this particular game, we saw Ten Hag mostly use the fullbacks in these half-space positions, with Antony and Rashford sitting wide and holding the width, but there is always the option that Rashford and Antony could drift in field, with the fullbacks then overlapping to hold the width. But what impressed me was the movement when the ball arrived at the winger's feet. Here we see a great example. Antony receives the ball after a turnover in the United half, and he does exactly what I've been wanting him to do constantly throughout his first few months at United, which is to be direct and decisive and drive past the opposition player, carrying the ball up the flank and taking United from their own half into the final third. And from here we can see that even though Wan-Bissaka doesn't receive the ball in this move, his forward run is crucial, and it's the exact type of run that I think Antony needs more of in order to thrive on United's right side. As Antony has the ball on the right flank, you can see that Hendrick is positioned in the half space, which is the exact area that Antony wants to cut into. Wan-Bissaka makes an underlapping run, and even though he doesn't receive the ball from Antony, it forces Hendrick to track the run, vacating that area for Antony to now cut inside into, and from here, like for Casemiro's goal, he's able to thread a well-timed and well-weighted pass into Bruno Fernandes, creating a shooting opportunity. We also saw Malacia doing this on the left side with Rashford holding his width. But overall, I didn't think there was much to take from the game personally. I could go over a few things, But because of how poor Reading were, I think it's hard to fully evaluate these things. So I am going to be doing a separate video which I will be putting out this week on first on Antony as a player, but also on United's movement and how they can use the flanks to open up teams. So if you do want to see that video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when the video comes out. Give the video a like and check the description for more videos as well.